think there's somebody in my bed.
We are talking about the movie The Ghost Beyond. This one is directed by R. Michael Givens and is co-written by Perry Reginald Teo. Though I'm actually a little bit of a fan of Perry Reginald Teo. He's actually done a number of directing gigs and I've quite enjoyed his work, and he has a James Wan feel to him. But he's not directing here, he's just gone writing duties, so his fingerprints are less on this than maybe some of the other movies that I've enjoyed of his. So The Ghost Beyond, it focuses on a small family. We've got a kind of this father who is a screenwriter, who looks like he's the lost brother of the Hemsworth family. We've got his attractive wife, who is a neurobiologist, or basically some type of like brain surgeon. I forget exactly what it is. So we've got very kind of like high profile people. And their young son, who has got the typical child moppet hair type thing. Anyway, they could have moved to this kind of large house. Now, they are informed when they buy this house that this house may be haunted, which is why the house is cheap. And suffice to say, yeah, it is haunted. And things kind of start going wrong as it kind of starts to affect the family in different ways. Initially, it's kind of trying to communicate with a young boy. There appears to be this kind of weird cabinet full of like crappy old dolls that seems to be talking to the young boy, and then there's this spirit, this kind of girl that's kind of wandering around, and then it starts to affect the father and who makes him kind of aggressive. And I don't know why it doesn't really affect the mother, to be honest. It's never really touched on, but there you go. But anyway, it all starts to kind of end up in this kind of obviously this kind of conflict towards the end of the movie. That's as far as I'll go with the film. So what works for me? It's a very kind of glossy movie. It kind of almost feels like it deserves to be on the Hallmark Channel. It feels very kind of, everyone's got like a polish on it, if that makes sense. All the cast are super attractive. They've all got, they've all got amazing jobs. It's an amazing house. So it's almost like this kind of like the ghostly lives of the rich and famous sort of thing. But it kind of gives it, a kind of TV vibe, ultimately, like a kind of like a Dallas or a Dynasty, but with some ghosts. I've got to say the actual movie is fairly well shot. I think the lighting and all the sound editing and all that sort of stuff is good. It's obviously a lower budget movie, we'll come with the effects in there, but it does look, the house they've picked to use, and obviously the kind of the interiors and stuff, I think do look pretty good in regards to some kind of like some spooky set pieces. I quite like the fact that they was kind of like, they just say straight away, obviously, it's kind of this house is haunted. It kind of almost, it's one of these things where they have to find out for themselves. That was quite good. The cast is, obviously suitably attractive. I am struggling a little bit here to kind of come up with lots of positives, because I feel this movie is, at its best, just okay, and then at its worst, pretty, pretty kind of like unsatisfying. So we'll talk about maybe some positives, but the thing is this movie offers nothing new. It's kind of very cookie cutter, very kind of generic, but it just doesn't seem to stick to its own mythology. I mean, for example, they are told at the beginning of the movie, this house is haunted. But it's never brought up again, and the mother refuses to believe, and she doesn't even say, well, hang on a second, we were told this house was haunted, but no, she doesn't believe it until like the very end. Even when her son's telling her about this girl, her husband's mentioning it, so that's the first thing. They also, I swear on that, I've only watched this the once, it just doesn't stick to its own mythology. There's a dialogue where someone says, oh, there's two types of spirits here, ghosts and demons have never been alive. There was this particular spirit who is a demon who is then never been alive. And then I swear it says like a minute later, oh, when she was living. Hang on a second, didn't you just say she wasn't living? Anyway, so there's just little bits of attentions to detail here that that just feel like a kind of just a bit of a missed opportunity. The acting is a little bit kind of hammy. It's not terrible acting, I would say, but it just comes across as a little bit kind of too hammy. But I will put that down to the writing as well. I think maybe it's just a little bit like the writing is a little bit poor. I mean, for example, we're told that the wife has had an affair with the husband's agent. He's like a screenwriter, so he has his agent, and the husband's a bit jealous of it, but he still has the same agent. I mean, come on, if you were jealous and your wife had an affair that she admitted to with your agent, you would get another agent. You wouldn't stick to the same one. It just smacks of kind of like not enough thought put into it, unfortunately. And then we kind of get into the last act where I feel it really does just kind of like fall to pieces. The actual resolution about what happens, I feel, is very weak. It's not satisfying. The ghostly effects are on the cheaper side. There's some visual effects here, but it's obviously kind of cheap. I've seen worse. I will say that I have seen worse. And then we have this kind of girl who kind of looks like. I mean, we're told that she was killed in like a toy box. Again, it just kind of like it kind of contradicts itself. I mean, we're saying, oh, there's this demon, but then we're told there was this girl who was killed in like she suffocated in a toy box. But then she looked like she's got burns on her, and she was eating the dolls or something. Yeah, there's just lots here that's very inconsistent. So I feel this is a bit of a rush job, if I'm honest. It's not particularly interesting. It's kind of a slow-paced TV-style movie. So if you just want something relatively kind of light, I mean, it's the actual kind of. There's very few. There's not really any kind of gore in this movie at all. There's one scene that will have you howling in laughter unintentionally that involves these kind of, so there's this cupboard which has got all these like dolls, and they're like crappy dolls that have got like black goo on them and they're broken. Some of them are hanging like with their necks and stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, if you were parents, you would get rid of that shit, especially if you've got a young kid in there. Why they just keep it in there, I don't know. But I do know it's because they wanted to have this particular scene at the end, which is beyond ridiculous. It is hilarious. It is hilarious. It's almost worth watching just for this one scene where what's in this kind of like cupboard at the end. I won't spoil it for you, but suffice to say, yeah, it was not meant to be funny, but Jesus. Whew. So it's not without its entertainment value. I mean, it's okay. It's just like generic, but it feels kind of rushed and not really much thought put into it. But it still has, you know, a journey by the characters. They have somewhat of an arc. So I have seen worse, but it's not one I can really recommend, to be honest. So I'll give this one a 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me comments, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.